Most salespeople are going to shatter, destroy, just be so horrible with the first 10 seconds of their cold call. But if you're honest, it makes such a big difference. And I'm going to prove it, especially I'm going to bring some receipts. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about cold call openers. In particular, is it garbage or is it actually working? And what should you say? Should you even do one? Well, hopefully this gives you some insights, and I'm going to bring some numbers to back this up. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, please go ahead and subscribe because we're going to notify you every time we drop something amazing like this one here. Our episodes fall into one of two categories. One, it's going to help you to build pipeline, or two, it's going to help you to accelerate deals through the pipeline. In today's episode, we're going to talk about building pipe. When you're doing cold calls, should you do this or not? Here's what it is all about. I'll tell you all about that in the next one. But I want to give some shout outs real quick to some folks who have been connecting with me on LinkedIn. Charles, appreciate you. Thanks so much for connecting. Appreciate that. Also, want to give a big shout out to Jael. Thank you so much for connecting. Rael, I appreciate you connecting. Terry, my man, appreciate you connecting. Lou, thank you so much. And Alicia, thank you. I'm grateful to connect with you guys. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly, you can follow, but I would love it if you just send me a connection request and we can chat in the comments. Appreciate that. But let's go into this. Cold call openers. Are they garbage or are they not? I'm going to give you my answer at the very beginning of the episode, and the answer is they're amazing. I don't think they're garbage. I think there's it's going to get to a point where they're going to get overplayed, and there are people who overplay them sometimes. You just go a little bit too deep. Sometimes it's not necessary, and I'm not saying every time you make a phone call, you need to say, hey, this is a cold call, but I found that it works. I did a call yesterday, and I'll go into this. I give a call to a guy yesterday, called him out of the blue. I was doing my cold call routine, and I was trying to get 5 conversations, meaningful conversations. He responded. We chat for a little bit, and it was good. There's a potential opportunity there. At the beginning of the call, I did express to him, he's like, hey, I told him, I know I did interrupt your day, and this is a cold outreach. I have something I think I want could benefit you, or something to that nature. And he listened, and it went for a good conversation. I've tried this many times, and when I do utilize it, it gives this sense to the buyer that there's a way out. I love giving them there's an exit, because most people feel like they get they're going to get tricked into doing something they don't want to do when they work with a seller, because the seller is going to try to convince them to buy the service or product and be pushy. But when you give the buyer a way out, it's not that they run to that exit. They just at least know there's an exit. And many of us probably do this too when we go into buildings. Like, yeah, I'm going into a movie theater and I'm going into this big box and I'm giving up control. But I never went through the I lied. I went through the emergency exit, I think, twice at a movie theater, because you were able to do that at the end of the movie. So instead of going through the parking lot, instead of going through the front, you could just go through the exit row. And it was okay. I'm thinking about the stories now. There's several times, but the point is, I didn't exit because of a fire. I knew there was an exit, and that gave me comfort oftentimes when I go into a movie theater or to a place where it's confined. And think about, you're getting on a call with a prospect, you're getting confined into a space, but you tell them, hey, I have something, I can share this. I know it's a cold outreach, or if you do a numbers, I'm going to just want to get 15 seconds to share an idea with you, and if it's not, then we can hang up. I know at least I'm getting out. This party's going to end in 15 seconds, or potentially it could go longer if it's going to be great, and it has to be great in order for that to happen. So let me hear, and curiosity sparks for me to listen. So I feel for that it works. But I have 3 other reasons. But so this guy, it worked for him, and there is a conversation that happened. It didn't turn into a deal or opportunity right now, but there's something in the works that we're developing. But that particular one, he was really impressed by the end of the call because of the way that we went about doing it. So here's what I would recommend that you do. Why I think cold call, especially the permission-based openers, work. I definitely think cold calling works. It's some money in them calls. It lowered resistance, which I kind of emphasize. Number 2, it builds trust quickly. And then number 3, it gives you control of the conversation. And also give the buyer control. So let me give you some stats with this. Being upfront with your prospect is going to disarm them. Like, you just think about that, what I shared with this guy, and think about what I've seen what I shared with a little bit early on. Like they're not going to, instead of them instinctively just shutting you down, they're at least willing to hear more. And here are the receipts that I brought with this. Gong states they analyzed over 90,000 calls and found that saying, "Did I catch you at a bad time?" or "Can I have 27 seconds to explain why I'm calling?" increased success rates by over 40% compared to diving straight into the pitch. Because diving in straight into the pitch is the traditional way of doing it. And I'll have this pop up on the screen here, so you can see the stat again. So you can read it here. 90% over 90,000 calls, and it increases success rate by over 40% compared to just diving straight into the pitch. And I feel like that again goes back to some of the things the buyer feel like they're being pushed into something. It slows the sales process down, but it actually speeds up the opportunities later on. It's kind of like me saying you go along with an effective disco, but that makes the rest of the sales process great. Number two, it builds trust quickly. Admitting that it's a cold call shows authenticity to the buyer. Like they're seeing that you are coming and you're not trying to be that sleazy seller. Prospects specifically appreciate transparency, and it sets a respectful boundary and a tone for the conversation between you and that prospect. A study by Edelman found that 88% of people say trust is the key factor in deciding who they buy from. A permission-based approach simply allows for you to build that trust in that very first sentence. So as people look at salespeople, one of the most untrustworthy careers out there is our role as a sales professional. And if it's so high that people are, have a distrust for sellers, that they feel that we are not trustworthy, we need to disarm them as much as possible at the very beginning. And that's why that permission-based opener helps to build that trust and to build that confidence in this person, knowing that, again, there's a way out of this thing. And then the third thing, it gives control of the conversation. Getting a yes early, even a small yes, gives you permission to continue, and it creates this micro agreement that gives momentum throughout the whole sales process. Them saying yes, and you've seen this and you've heard this psychologically, just get them to say yes and they can continue to go for it. Because once they say that, then later on, this idea, if you've done a good job and you have a relevancy with your the pain point that you're addressing in that conversation, more than likely the buyer's going to say, okay, I'm open to learning more. I just am busy right now. And you set the stage for the next one. The guy that I was visiting with, literally their company is just brand new, and they weren't ready to make an investment in something else, but he wants to set something up for 3 months out. So I literally to reconnect with him. So I'm sending a calendar invite so we can connect 3 months out. The point with this again is that he said yes earlier, so he's more than willing to say yes to other things psychologically. It's not saying that happens all the time, but if it just goes back, if you can get them to do that, it makes it more agreeable. People want to connect with people who they feel are like them. And if they're saying yes to you and they're in that they feel like they feel that there's a connection already, then it just increases the odds that they're going to continue trusting you and continue to dialogue as we go further down the line. There is a behavioral research that shows that getting a small yes increases compliance with further requests by over 60%. This was study that was done, and it just is amazing what happens when you do such a small thing. Again, the next step in this process would have been a appointment, and then obviously from there something else. If you're saying yes and you're fulfilling, if they're saying yes to stuff and you're fulfilling what you're saying yes to, again, it just makes it that why would I not say yes to the next thing? You know what I mean? So your buyers want to do business with you. They will trust you if you give them the opportunity or let them know that you are trustworthy. Those are three reasons. Fix that part. My Alexa went off. For those three reasons, and I'm sure there's many more that you have, but I found that it really helps me when I'm having conversations to be able to utilize this permission-based opener. And again, it takes the pressure off of me as the buyer, as a seller. It doesn't, I don't have to like try to prove anything now. They gave me permission. I can relax and have the conversation with them. And then the other component with this too is I mentioned it gives you control as a seller, but it also gives the buyer control because again, she might say at the end of that 27 seconds, or after that 10 seconds, thank you, Donald, appreciate this, I am not interested, or thank you, I like this, I just don't have the time right now, let's set something up. But they feel like they have control, you feel like you have control, everybody's happy, we're not being this awkwardness, and life goes on. But I want to hear from you. Are you doing permission-based openers? Do you find that they're effective for you? Go ahead and drop me a message on LinkedIn to find out more, to share with me your feelings. In addition to that, guys, if you are interested in being a part of a mastermind, being a part of a community where you get a chance to practice stuff like this, practice your openers, get some feedback from sellers, and to get the best things that are working, you should check out my mastermind. It's the salesevangelist.com/mastermind. Again, the salesevangelist.com/mastermind. Would be an absolute honor to have you join us. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking. But most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things. I'll see you on the next one.